Barely lit voiceover whispered over a thunder, cracking shot of children's shoes lined in dust. They found her coffin empty, and the orphan's name scratched into the walls, cut to black, a beat. Then titles, we linger on an engraving, Lizzie Borden's daughter. Though no such daughter is recorded, the frame lingers, a distant lullaby fractures in static, a hush. Narrator deep, commanding, in 1897, in the crumbling seminaries of New England, a vanished girl, called Lizzie's daughter in orphan records, was erased, her absence concealed behind layers of institutional secrecy and ancient trauma. Sound design, low organ drone, heartbeat percussion, distant children weeping. From the first frame, viewers sense a dark secret festering beneath idyllic granite facades, steeples, and orphanage walls. This is a story no one was meant to remember. Late 19th century New England, a remote children's seminary built of pale granite. The year is 1897. A young girl named Eleanor Borden, rumored to be the illegitimate child of the infamous Lizzie Borden, is quietly placed in the seminary orphanage. Publicly disavowed, quietly suppressed, her name appears in ledgers, then vanishes. We glimpse archival, style documents, faded ink, ledger entries scratched through. Each cross-out stabs like a ritual erasure. Eleanor's photo, a tiny tintype, is blurred, torn. Narrator ominous. Eleanor was marked in whispers as a vessel of scandal, a child born into corruption no institution wished to acknowledge. Through evocative imagery, the hollow echo of hallways, wooden bunk beds with rusty springs, flickering gas lamps, we begin to feel the oppressive institutional control. Sensory detail, the scent of mildewed hymnals, the iron tang of medicine water, the distant clang of the chapel bell at midnight. A former caretaker's voice reenacted, she sang lullabies no one taught her, melodies older than the church itself. A tone of suppressed knowledge permeates the scene, a trauma older than memory, lodged in mortar and stone. We wander those corridors in moody cinematography, long shadows cast by gaslights, peeling wallpaper crested with rose motifs. Each rose is stained, each crease conceals a bruise. Narrator, behind the veneer of piety and charity, the seminary harbored dark rituals. The children rarely spoke, their lullabies became an incantation of pain. We reconstruct testimonies from hushed diaries. One reads, at midnight, the sisters drag children to the crypt-like basement. They chant in Latin. Eleanor's voice rises above the rest. Audio overlap, Latin chant. Children's voices trembling, then a sudden scream and silence. Symbolic language, the granite walls as bones, the chapel like an altar to silence. Plaster angels with hollow eyes. Historical texture. The seminary's founding minister had ties to a secret society rumored to preserve spiritual purity through purification rites. Records show involvement in early 20th century occult fraternities, emotionally intense undertone. Every corridor becomes a binding corridor, every cross-shaped window a prison. Eleanor's presence, her absence, defines the malignant energy. Late autumn 1897, Eleanor disappears. The seminary issues a gentle statement, run away. But records are coded, removed for cause. Narrator, no missing child posters, no police record, only a name erased from the ledger like a wound licked clean. We present a fictional town meeting transcript period. Style reenactment, voices shaking. They said the child was unruly. She spoke too much of things here that frightened us. The soundscape becomes a press of rustling papers, distant wind rattling shutters, footsteps fading into emptiness. The camera drifts over a solitary cradle, rocking slowly though no one is there. In voiceover, mothers in the town speak of nightmares, children chanting Eleanor's lullaby in sleep. Here the script delves into psychological undercurrents, Eleanor as a carrier of something ancestral, a trauma older than her generation, transmitted through family, cloister, institution. Symbolism, the cradle is blood, tinted in candlelight, the lullaby half remembered, half cursed. The cradle rocking becomes a heartbeat suspended in time. Switch to fictional Borden family letter, staged paper, spidery ink, corners singed. Lizzie Borden herself fictionally extended rights to a confidante in 1896. Our shame must stay buried, no orphanage, no whispers, only her name, Eleanor, must vanish. Narrator, behind the public persona of vengeance and folk legend, The Bordens harbored deeper secrets, ancestral rituals adopted from older New England pagan survivals, designed to trap trauma in silence. We intercut scenes, a shadowy parlor where family portraits hang askew, cracked teacups, a single rose drying in a book, emotional tone, dread, guilt, rigid fear. Each page turned is a confession half-spoken. Audio, faint scratching, turning pages, ticking clock. We explore institutional control colluding with family, town's officials warned to keep quiet, church ministers silenced, a network of corruption, moral high ground built on buried bodies. A century later, townspeople report strange disturbances in the old seminary ruins. Voices at night, flickering lights in empty windows, children wandering corridors no longer there. Narrator Eleanor's presence never left. The trauma warped time. The seminary became haunted, not by ghosts of the dead, but by echoes of suppressed memory. We show interviews with elderly locals reenacted diaries. At twilight, you hear her singing on the wind. Sound design, reversed lullabies, footsteps, voices calling mama. In the wind through broken windows, sensory detail, the smell of burnt hymnals, the cold touch of wind passing through walls. Psychological twist, trauma across generations, haunting collective memory more than individual ghosts. Themes, how institutions that claim moral authority, churches, orphanages, can participate in generational abuse and how memory fights back. Investigative researcher, fictional narrator travels to dusty archives in Boston, discovering handwritten ledger pages. Eleanor's name hidden beneath layers of pasted-over entries. We provide close-up visuals, torn tape, faded red ink, ghostly smudges. Narrator, these documents weren't destroyed, they were concealed. They remain so to hide the institutional machinery that erased a child, a scandal, a lineage. Emotional tone, exhilaration, horror, righteous fury. They pieced together code, EB 1008, 197 relocated, but a coded cross indicating a purification. Sensory detail, dust motes in lamplight, brittle parchment cracking, the click of film scanners, the sense that uncovering these records is forbidden knowledge, a trespass into institutional sin. Continued in next reply due to length limits. Continuing the script, the coded word in the archives, purification, leads to chilling discoveries. A Latin prayer scrawled in margins is translated. Cleanse the bloodline, remove the voice, bind the child in silence. Narrator grave measured, they called it purification, but in practice it was something older, something closer to sacrifice. We see flash cuts, candle-lit chapels, bowls of water clouded red, a single child's shoe by the altar. The sisters at the seminary were rumored to perform rites inherited from obscure immigrant sects, a blend of Christianity, folk magic, and nameless superstition from old Europe. Sensory details, the bitter smell of tallow candles, the metallic taste of blood in holy water, the choking incense filling the crypt. Themes of hidden corruption swell. Institutions meant to save souls instead using them as offerings. Eleanor was not the only one. Her name is just the only one that slipped through the cracks. Testimonies from survivors, now elderly in sanitariums, unfold in trembling voices. We were told not to speak her name, but at night she would sit at the foot of our beds. We saw her eyes in the dark. Narrator, they survived the seminary, but not the memories. The children carried scars invisible to doctors, scars that bled only in dreams. Audio design, heard murmurs under dialogue, scratching fingernails on wood, a girl humming off key. Psychological angle, repressed trauma mutating into delusion. Were they haunted by Eleanor, or by what they were made to do to her? Symbolism, the cross upside down in a puddle, an empty spoon by a cracked porcelain bowl. The horror deepens, not just what the institution did, but how it rewrote the survivors' minds. The seminary couldn't have operated in silence without the town looking away. Narrator, everyone saw something and everyone decided not to. We hear fictional town records, bills for extra linens, purchases of cleansing herbs, and a crypt renovation, billed as foundation repair. The camera glides over faded storefronts, wooden signs, church pews, tone, accusatory, cold. The horror now implicates the viewer, reminding us that evil thrives in silence, not in secrecy. A diary excerpt from a town minister, his script shaking. She begged for help. We prayed instead. The implication is chilling. Prayer was used to pacify guilt, not stop evil. Modern day, construction near the old seminary uncovers tiny skeletal remains. Several, not one. Narrator, the earth opened its mouth and the truth began to crawl out. Close-up shots, dirt falling from hollow sockets, rosary beads tangled in ribs, the coroner's fictional notes, aged 5 to 10, cause of death undetermined, multiple remains suggest ritual arrangement. Sensory, smell of wet earth, the cold shock of bone in bare hands, the weightless rattle of skulls in boxes. This section feels physically sickening. The evidence is no longer abstract. Researchers recover an old wax cylinder recording from the seminary's archives. Crackling, faint. A little girl sings a lullaby in an unknown language. Narrator, she sings to no one or to something waiting. Audio, distorted, reversed. Lyrics make no sense but feel like summoning. Interpretations vary. Folklorists call it a blend of nursery rhyme and occult prayer. Symbolism, the lullaby becomes the voice of buried trauma, a melody that was meant to die with her but refuses to. Fictional investigators question the surviving church officials. Old, frail, evasive. Mistakes were made, but the past is past. Narrator stern, the church's answers are a wall of platitudes. Behind them, a deeper rot remains. Tone sharpens. Anger threads the narration. Clips. Rosaries swinging like pendulums, stained. Glass saints watching, unblinking. Theme, institutional control weaponizing forgiveness, demanding silence, erasing accountability. Researchers gain access to a sealed room in the seminary's ruins. Inside, a child's bed untouched, walls scratched with symbols, a mirror cracked down the middle. Narrator, she lived here, she suffered here, and she fought to mark the walls so we would know. Clo, sup, fingernail scratches spelling words half, erased, help, listen, and a strange sigil, circles intersected by lines. The sigil appears in other found documents, hinting at a larger network of hidden rituals. As the investigation deepens, researchers suffer nightmares, hallucinations, nosebleeds. Narrator, knowledge has teeth. It devours those who seek it. One hears the lullaby in dreams. Another sees Eleanor's face in mirrors. Tone, claustrophobic. The documentary itself begins to feel infected. Symbolism, the act of remembering is dangerous. Trauma doesn't stay passive when unearthed. Locals begin warning the filmmakers, leave it buried or you'll bring her back. Narrator, they speak not as protectors, but as prisoners of their own silence. Tension spikes, doors slam shut. Old faces appear in windows. Theme, the complicity has calcified into fear. Even now, the town guards the secret like a curse. The deepest archive yields the master ledger, all names, all erased children. Eleanor's name is circled in red. Next to it, gift given. Narrator, the phrase chills the blood. What gift, to whom? Implication, the rituals were not just symbolic. They were transactions. The final pieces align. The seminary's founders believed in feeding a presence beneath the building, a thing they called the listener. Narrator, they gave it songs, they gave it prayers, and when that wasn't enough, they gave it children. The lullaby becomes a howl. Modern footage shows strange events. Children humming the lullaby, lights flickering, equipment breaking. Narrator, she isn't gone, the listener isn't gone, and the bargain was never finished. Visual, door creaking open in the abandoned seminary, camera trembling, faint giggle in the dark. Narrator, quiet, final. Eleanor's name was meant to be erased, but some stories refuse to stay silent. Some lullabies never stop singing. The last sound, the lullaby, clear and close, as if sung right beside the viewer's ear.